Usually whenever we meet a horror movie villain, we see them at their 100%, meaning they have completely transformed into the icons that we know and love. Take Freddy Krueger for instance. He's already got the hat, the sweater, the razor sharp claws, and of course the ability to kill you in your dreams. And even if the movie doesn't start off with their complete transformation, like for instance Chucky or Michael, eventually we get there at least after the first 10 minutes. And then the rest of the movie, it's classic Chucky and Michael, but sometimes it takes time to become a legend. Case in point, Jason Voorhees. Everyone knows Jason as being the unstoppable, supernatural, hockey mask, machete-wielding killer. But not only did he not start out that way, it took a while to get there. And I mean it took sequels to get to where he is today. It's very well known in the horror community that Pamela Voorhees was the very first killer in the Friday the 13th series. Long story short, she died by the hands of Alice, who was the final girl of the first Friday the 13th movie. And then in part 2, Alice was killed by Jason. And Jason in part 2 had this burlap sack over his head, chasing all the would-be new camp counselors. And surprisingly, he wasn't all that intimidating. It's not all that often where you can scare the shit out of the killer of a horror movie. I mean, even in Halloween, this is not the type of reaction that you can get from Michael Myers. But that's okay, we can move on to part 3, where Jason finally gets his hockey mask from this kid named Shelly. And again, chasing Jason off by swinging a weapon is not something you can do later on in the series. And later, when Chris strikes Jason's head with an axe, this is how it left the chip of the hockey mask that you would often see in the sequels. In parts 2, 3, and 4, Jason was vulnerable, clumsy, and gullible. I mean, Jenny actually pretended to be Jason's mom and almost got the upper hand, and then Jason kind of put 2 and 2 together. And in part 4, Tommy Jarvis was able to outsmart Jason by dressing up as him, ultimately leaving himself open so Tommy Jarvis could actually kill Jason. And originally, as the name implies, this was supposed to be the final chapter because part 3 didn't make a lot of money. And so they thought, okay, well, we'll just make one more movie and then that's it. But part 4 made so much more money than the studio anticipated, and therefore they decided, hey, let's keep making movies. In part 5, a guy named Roy pretended to be Jason after his son was killed. But then after Roy's bloodshed, Tommy Jarvis was originally supposed to be the new killer of the franchise, after losing his mind not only from the recent attack, but also having hallucinations of Jason. But just like Halloween 3, this left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth because they want to see Jason as the one and only killer. So of course, they brought him back in part 6. And this is how we get to Jason, the one we know and love. Jason is his ominous presence. You cannot shake this guy down no matter what you do. This guy is way more intimidating, way more confident, way more strong. Oh my god, this guy is a bruiser. Is he still a gullible mama's boy? Absolutely, as we saw in Freddy vs. Jason. Although in all fairness, Freddy was a lot more convincing than Jenny ever was. The only reason Jason found out that it wasn't his mom was because Freddy gave up the facade. Everything I've said in this video thus far is obviously not new information, but this is something worth talking about and really take the time to think about. Again, there were obvious reasons as to why Jason went through such a drastic change over the course of the movies, given that the studios didn't know that there was going to be more movies. Honestly, I think it's kind of cool and something worth to appreciate because, like I said before, Jason didn't get to where he is today from just one movie. Sometimes things just take time.